Edward Bernays, the father of PI, said if you want to control people, the best way to do that, the best human emotion, is fear. And we had all that sort of side. And you very publicly have spoken about COVID and anti-vax and so on and so forth. Talk me through
Andrew, how can I be an anti-vaxxer? I took two of the damn things and they hurt
right.
me.
I think it was more about that you did, but and looking back, I mean, as you said, it was you claimed a cardiologist told you that it constitutes the biggest crime against humanity since the Holocaust. Talk to me about the evidence that you found supporting that.
How long have we got, Andrew? Well, if well, what I do know is what I've learned many years ago, so probably in 2022, was that the vaccines that were put in people's arms were not the vaccines that got emergency approval. We knew from the papers that Pfizer and Moderna tried to hide for 75 years in the US their trial data. We knew when they were released, thankfully, by the Americans in 50,000 page tranches over several months, analysed by independent scientists, including the Fryman paper et al., that at least 1 in 800 people who took those vaccines in the trial, they would suffer a severe adverse event, including potential death, life-changing event. They were the vaccines that actually got emergency approval. That genetic material in those mRNA vaccines was produced by a PCR machine without contamination, very slowly and very expensively. But that's not how the vaccines that went in people's arms were produced. They were produced using bacteria to produce up the genetic material. Then the bacteria have to be broken, and you can get contamination in the vaccines of bacterial cell walls and genetic material from the bacteria itself. And that's what we actually had. And the proof of that, Andrew, if you remember when the mass vaccine rollout happened,
Yes.
the smoking gun for them knowing at the MHRA, the Medicines and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency, are the people there to protect us, was that you remember they rolled out the vaccines, and on day 2 they announced that everyone's got to stay at the vaccine centre for 15 minutes. They weren't. That was because of anaphylactic shock from cell wall contamination in the vaccines, bacterial cell wall contamination. They weren't expecting that on day 1 because they didn't say it on day 1 because that wasn't in the trials because they weren't produced in bacteria. That means that the MHRA knew that the vaccines were different to the ones they'd given approval for. They changed the rules and they still allowed them to be rolled out. And the evidence I've seen is that the vaccines that were rolled out were probably 5 times more dangerous than 1 in 800, which we're down to sort of 1 in 140. And they want you to have what, 10, 12 of them? Other vaccines historically, I think it was 1976, the swine flu vaccine was pulled from the market. There were 12 post-vaccine deaths in the whole of America. It was around about 1 in 100,000 severe adverse events. And that vaccine was pulled in 1976. The COVID vaccines have not been pulled with a severe adverse event rate of probably 1 in 130 or 40.
Yeah. And as you say, it's such a huge topic, and we do need to keep asking those questions. In